record on this. As we have a number of members, and often it's hard to fit in the time to come live, but when you do come live, there's an opportunity to get more out of it. And of course, to get some laser coaching. So I have an opportunity to add on to any private coaching we might be doing to answer specific questions you have. But for this month, as I sent out my community membership emails on Monday mornings, which I call the Functional Nutrition Weekly, the topic has been on digestion. And to bring all of those messages and advice home, the group call today is on that very topic. And a lot of people may say the tagline, "You are what you eat," but the truth is we are what we absorb. It's so easy not to absorb the healthy whole real food we eat if there's issues with the digestion, or even if we're just overly stressed. I'll go into a study towards the end of the presentation. If we're stressed, our body is not going to prioritize absorbing those vitamins and minerals. So it's important to always just be calm before we eat our meal, do our best to not multitask for a meal or drive or be on the go. And that we put effort into the basics of being present with our food, and supporting our cortisol levels. So you are what you digest. I'm Kelly Schmidt. I am the owner of Kelly Schmidt Wellness with the new doing business as T1D Functional Nutrition. So I'm in transition, so you'll be hearing more of that and different logos and so forth. But let's begin. So the topic, as I mentioned, is on digestion, but digestion is really the cornerstone of what many of our health goals are, and that's weight loss. Many of us are striving for that cosmetic physique, and that's okay, and that helps us feel good. Maybe we feel more confident in our skin, and there is no shame in wanting weight loss. And in modern life, the odds are against us. There are so many distractions, from billboards to commercials to even subconscious messaging in media, driving us to eat a certain food to keep that brand, that product on the shelves in the grocery store. So when we talk about digestion, it's supporting your metabolism, it's supporting your liver, it's supporting your nutrient levels and nourishment, fighting deficiencies, and so much more. So the gut is the second brain. It's connected. Our gut is connected to our brain by the vagus nerve, and it's the primary focus within a functional nutrition approach. Whatever someone's health goal is, I'm always very focused on how healthy is someone's gut. Because if the gut is in a good, healthy place, let that be the bacteria balance in the colon, or the integrity of the gut lining in the small intestines, to having enough enzymes and hydrochloric acid in the stomach, to, from the top, chewing our food enough and being present. It is the cornerstone of a functional nutrition approach to help someone successfully meet their goal with more ease. The gut is far more than the digestive organ. It's the engine that influences every body system, to mental health, to endocrine health, to liver function. Some of this I'm already saying is repetitive to drive the message home, to hormone balance. If our gut is off, our estrogen balance can be off, and so much more. So what does a healthy gut look like? So on the right-hand side, there's 5 bullet points that look like a different language, but let's focus on the left-hand side of what is more consumer friendly, of what a healthy gut looks like. And that's daily bowel movements. If you go to a doctor, they'll say, and you might say, "Hey, I'm a little constipated." And they'll say, "Well, what does that mean to you?" And defining constipation might be not going to the bathroom for more than 7 days. But a healthy bowel, we need to have moving daily. And when we have a bowel movement, we want to make sure we feel like we empty. That's a sensation that's unique and something to really kind of think about. But we really want daily bowel movements. And in my weekly nutrition emails that I send out on Monday, one of the first emails this month I sent was on the Bristol stool chart. And at the end of the day, what we want with our bowel movements is a nice, clean snake, or the letter S in the toilet bowl. So we always want to analyze, what does our bowel movement look like? How do we feel when we use the restroom? Can it be more optimal? And what steps do we need to take to get there? And I'll give some ideas to that furthermore in this presentation. A healthy gut helps us feel energized. A healthy gut supports our mood. Serotonin is produced in the gut, 70% of it, and serotonin is a healthy, feel-good brain chemical, which we need to support mood, but of course to support good sleep. If someone has a really hard time sleeping, I always wonder, how is their gut bacteria? How are they tolerating the food they're eating? Is there a huge food sensitivity in the way, driving insomnia, and so much more? A healthy gut can resemble, or a healthy tongue can indicate a healthy gut. So if you stick your tongue out in the mirror, you want to analyze, are there any ridges on the outside of your tongue? Is there lots of cracks down the center? Is it a healthy color? Is there a white film on top? A white film on top could indicate something like yeast overgrowth in the colon or throughout the body. But really look at your tongue. If you ever do acupuncture, they'll always say, okay, stick out your tongue, let me see your tongue, and then they feel your pulse. There's a lot of holistic medicine going into other areas of the body to indicate how well that gut's functioning. A healthy
Yeah.
weight. Margie,
I have I have what's been described as a geographic tongue. I've
yeah.
always had those ridges and everything.
Yeah,
But
there's a layer of genetics there for a geographic tongue, and I too have it. I remember when I was a kid, my dentist said, "Oh, wow, you have a geographic tongue," and I was like, "Oh God, what's that?" And now I've gotten further into my dietetics and private practice. That geographic tongue can tell me a lot about the organ systems, including gut health. And two, it's good just to be aware of how deep those ridges are compared to how shallow or they can be, and how that can relate to gut health. I know you've done some testing with me on gluten sensitivity, and I always look at the tongue, or the tongue's an indicator, like, is there a food sensitivity? And as we heal the gut, does that tongue look better? So that's something, thank you for sharing with us, but something you can continue to look at without a cost of how your gut's doing. Um, Thank you for sharing. Um, a healthy gut can indicate a healthy weight. So on the right-hand side, I'll go into this different language, this Bacteroides and Firmicutes. This makes up 90% of the bacteria in our colon, and they help support a healthy metabolism. But in most Americans, these levels are pretty low. And these levels go down with the consumption of alcohol. They go down with the consumption of sugar. They go down with a level of chronic stress. It also goes down if we're not eating enough fiber. So for many of us, we're trying to control blood sugar, right? And when I control blood sugars, I'm very aware of my carbohydrates. And if I'm too hyper focused on eating low carb, I'm not eating enough fiber. So fiber is really, really important. It's really important in blood sugar management, but it's really important for metabolic health. Sorry, it sounded like a machine was running downstairs in my house. So I got a little distracted there. So healthy weight is very related to our gut bacteria. And as I work with you, if you're working with me privately, or if you're just within the membership, it's so important to eat color, to eat fiber, and to support blood sugar control. So easier said than done. A healthy gut also relates to ideal labs. So if I see labs with high lipid levels, if I see labs with a high CRP, CRP is an indication of inflammation. I'm always taking a look. I also look at vitamin D as in dog. And when I see low levels of vitamin D, it could be low nutrient absorption. I also look at vitamin B12, B as in boy. So the B vitamins, I think, are those low? Is it related to absorption? And how healthy the gut is. So what does a healthy gut look like? It's feeling vibrant, it's being an ideal weight, it's having good bowel movements on a daily basis. And it's a makeup of these main four areas of Bacteroides, Firmicutes. I'm going to pretend I can say actinobacteria and proteobacteria. But indications of poor gut health might be the opposite of feeling vibrant, having lean body mass, and so forth, but it can be a sign of seasonal allergies. It can be autoimmunity, especially type 1 diabetes, MS, lupus, Crohn's, and ulcerative colitis. There's a direct connection with leaky gut and these autoimmune diseases, if not all autoimmune diseases. So an autoimmune disease sits on three pillars: some form of genetics, some form of a stressor, and some form of a leaky gut. So myself as a type 1 diabetic, I'm ongoingly trying to support my gut health, to support my autoimmune disease and further complications. Indications of a poor gut health could be a status of bone health. I had a client who had to do a colonoscopy, and she's in her low 50s, so just through menopause, and she had signs of osteoporosis. And in this colonoscopy, it showed that her gut lining looked much like that of someone with celiac disease, although she does not have celiac disease. So the gut health can be very much related to bone health. Brain health as well. Give me 1 second. I'm going to close my door here that's open to an open window. Sounds like they're doing construction or maybe taking down trees. It seems like a common thing here. So going back, indications of poor gut health, bone health, brain fog. Cancer is a driver of poor gut health because when our gut health is, say, fragile, it's a driver of inflammation that can increase tumor growth. Poor gut health can drive heart disease. And just think about oral health. Oral health is directly related to gut health. And there's, status of, poor gum health in our oral cavity can be a driver of heart disease, but it's also very much related to gut health. Diabetes type 1 and type 2 is related to our gut health. In the colon, there's gut bacteria. And in the colon, there's good bacteria and bad. There's always a balance. And research has shown that people with type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes have exponential levels of bad bacteria compared to good. So again, out of the gate, if you have type 1 diabetes, the gut is the number one place that we need to review and support. GI health, obviously signs of IBS, IBD, or bacteria overgrowth or consistent bloating can be a sign of poor gut health. Immunity, if you consistently pick up bugs or get sick, that's a sign that the gut can use some support. And skin. If someone has eczema, easily gets rashes or hives or rosacea, it can be a sign for us to look at the gut even further. And then last but not least is thyroid disease. Thyroid disease is the hormone is converted in the liver, in the gut from T4 to T3. And if that TSH is really out of balance, the brain's trying to tell the thyroid to produce more thyroid stimulating hormone. And the conversion might not just be happening because the gut is out of shape. It needs some nourishment. It needs some nurturing to help that conversion process. So here's more information, digest this. This is where I want to give you education of where to begin. The gut is information, the research on our gut is in infancy. There's so much more for us to learn about it, but there are very basic and major steps that we can take to support our own health individually. Also know that your finger prick is unique to you, and so is the balance of your gut bacteria. Just because your husband or child can eat a certain way and reach a certain weight loss goal or blood sugar management, your needs are very distinct to you, very unique to you. So how does digestion work? It's really important to understand kind of the journey to know what areas need support. So the mouth, that's where we chew our food. And really we need to chew our food 20 to 30 times. And that seems unrealistic for many people. People are chewing food about 8 times, but really put a solid effort in building the habit to sit down with your meals and really chew your food and taste the food, taste the texture, feel the texture, think of the colors, appreciate the journey it got to come to your plate. A sense of gratitude can really help with that nutrient absorption of those vitamins and minerals. So when we chew our food, it goes from our mouth through our esophagus down to our stomach. And our stomach, it's a very strong muscle and it helps churn our food to help break it down. But there's also acid there, like hydrochloric acid. Hydrochloric acid, if on the skin, would burn our skin. So it's very acidic to protect any pathogens from going to the stomach into our body. So we need a really acidic environment to help prevent pathogens, but also help break down that food more, specifically pepsin, to break down our protein. So in our stomach, we need these enzymes, we need this acid to prepare it to go to the small intestines where things are absorbed. But as we get to age about 30, our hydrochloric acid and our enzymes can go down. If we feel stressed, those enzymes and acid won't be present. If we have acid reflux, it's not a lack of or it's not an abundance of hydrochloric acid. So usually we take acid blockers when we feel reflux, but we really need to support that hydrochloric acid and understand why we're having that sensation. It can be we're eating a food sensitivity. It can be we're in a state of stress, and it could be a state of imbalanced gut bacteria. So from our mouth, we chew our food, goes to our stomach where we need acid and enzymes, and it makes its way to our small intestines. This is where most nutrients are absorbed, and this is where most digestion takes place. So I have this acronym here, MMC. So when I work with clients, I always often talk about MMC, the migrating motor complex. So as our food gets to our small intestine, this migrating motor complex is a churning event that takes place 90 minutes after our last bite of food. And it's really important to have this migrating motor complex to be the house cleaners through that pipe to clean up any debris or dead cells. So when we come to our next meal, we can better digest and absorb nutrients. If we're eating small, consistent meals throughout the day, the migrating motor complex cannot be turned on. If we're eating small, consistent meals, there's no opportunity for that switch to be flipped, to have that nice cleanup between our meals. So if you think of a river, is consistently water moving down a stream or a landscape versus a pond. Pond can sit and get very sludgy. If someone has a pond, they often have a working fountain to help cycle that water through to keep things clean. And that's what our migrating motor complex does. So it's important to, one, chew our food. Another important tactic to good health is spacing our meals apart. Spacing our meals apart 4 hours, 5 hours, and you want your meal to be large enough to take you that long, because small, consistent meals can turn this off, can break down the gut lining, can create inflammation, can distract nutrient absorption, can be a driver of ill health. And you might be thinking, oh, Kelly, this health practitioner or this trainer told me small, frequent meals is way better. Here's science telling us it is not. There's other reasons why small, frequent meals is not healthy. It can stack insulin. It can, again, distract satiety and hunger, and more. Did someone have a question? Or maybe I'll
No.
pause to give the opportunity to ask any questions yet. No? Okay, so we go from our mouth to our stomach to our small intestines. I think of the small intestines like a garden hose. It's really long, and there's a lot going on in there. The pancreas is dripping in enzymes in the stomach, but also the small intestines too, more amylase, lipase to break down carbohydrates and fat. And from the small intestines, we reach the colon, and this is where we absorb water, electrolytes, some of our vitamins that's produced from good bacteria. And if we don't have enough good bacteria, we might be vitamin deficient because bad bacteria is taking over. So it's important to eat foods we well tolerate. It's important to eat foods that vary from day to day or week to week. The average American eats the same 15 foods weekly, and we really need to reach for 30 different foods per week and not the same 30 foods week to week. So it's important to eat seasonally. It's important to try new things. And eating seasonally and trying new things, that can really be just changing up the spices you use. Using thyme versus rosemary versus cilantro versus mint, to chives, to red onion, to green onion, really diversifying those flavors along with, the basic green beans that we might be eating or the basic potatoes we've been enjoying. Really diversify your spices because it can go a long way just for enjoyment, but also to support these little bacterias. And in our back colon, this is where our good bacteria live, and they produce vitamin K, vitamin B, and short chain fatty acids. So short chain fatty acids can come from our food, but more dominantly, it's coming from our bacteria. And these short chain fatty acids float up into that small intestines, into that garden hose, to feed the small little cells that are lining that hose and making them stronger and more mighty, to be more tolerant to damage or inflammation or insult. So a lot of times when I have clients do stool test, short chain fatty acids are non-existent. They are very low. Just having 2 teaspoons, one of my favorite forms of consuming short chain fatty acids is eating 2 teaspoons of grass-fed butter. And you might be thinking, oh, Kelly, I'm watching my calories. I don't want to, consume butter. I'm trying to reduce my fat. But high quality food has quite high quality impact on our health and our gut. And if we're trying to support weight loss, we need to support our good bacteria, to support our metabolism, to support inflammation, to support overall insulin resistance and blood sugar management. So one of my favorite ways and proactive ways to support short chain fatty acids is to eat a diverse diet, eat my fiber, but enjoy grass-fed butter when I'm making my eggs or on my gluten-free toast overall. Okay, any questions?
What is ghee?
Ghee.
Ghee.
Yes, I love your question, Margie. So ghee is a very low lactase form of butter. So it's filtering out all of those potential proteins out of dairy and giving the purest form of fat of butter. It tastes a little different than butter. I prefer butter, but if someone's sensitive to dairy, ghee is often a very safe route for them to use for cooking and so forth.
Use it. Somehow it came in my order. I'm
Yeah.
like, did I order this?
Yeah, I often get it free from Thrive Market as a
Oh, okay.
promo.
They might have thrown it in.
Yeah. So
Because I ordered from Thrive for the
yeah.
first time.
Lovely. I use ghee mainly in cooking, with eggs or even just lining a pan for potatoes. I prefer coconut oil with sweet potatoes. I prefer olive oil with potatoes, and sometimes I prefer butter. But it's a good cooking fat, certainly.
I thought maybe it was the grass-fed butter.
Oh yeah. So my favorite grass-fed butter is Kerrygold butter. It's delicious. I remember when my daughter was an infant, she's 9 now. As a baby, she would just take her spoon and just reach for the butter and eat it. And intuitively, as children, we don't have a lot of media and distractions driving our food choices. And it just could have been a sign she needed more support for her gut bacteria. And it's interesting what babies eat, what they reach for. It's really true to what their body needs. Um, so I talked about what does good gut health look like? What indications are there of bad gut health? And then we talked about chewing our food to our stomach, to our small intestines, to our colon. And when I do stool tests, I gauge people on a stage of gut dysfunction. And that report can tell me, is there inflammation present? Is there low diversity of gut bacteria? There's trillions of gut bacteria in the colon. And I can have clients that show me very low bacteria overall. Just recently, I would say maybe a month ago or so, I have a client that was on Accutane. That's a face acne cream. And there's actually been lawsuits against Accutane on depleting gut health. And the volume of bacteria in her gut was the smallest I've ever seen. And I was actually kind of scratching my head and I was like, oh, wow, the Accutane really depleted the gut. Other things that can deplete gut bacteria overall is yearly antibiotic use. Antibiotics, they wipe out the bad bacteria in our body, but they also wipe out the good. And if we chronically use antibiotics, it can really lower things down. So after you're on a round of antibiotics, don't avoid them. I mean, definitely take steps to make sure you can help your body heal and do so forth to get over the sickness, but it's not restricting them. But if you do take them, there's an opportunity to really support your gut health the 3 months following with strategic probiotic use. So stage 1 is inflammation and low diversity. Stage 2 is signs of leaky gut. And this can be a presence of zonulin, gluten sensitivity, signs of actin. These are proteins that open and close the tight junctions in the small intestines, in that garden hose, opening, closing, letting nutrients in, but they get stuck open and then proteins come in and inflammation drives up. So stage 2 is leaky gut and low enzyme or bile production. So on a stool test, I'll see low digestion of fat or protein or carbohydrates. And that's a sign that there's not enough enzymes present and somebody needs to take digestive enzymes with each meal. And then the third stage of gut dysfunction is some form of pathogen. Let that be candida, that's yeast overgrowth. Let that be H. pylori, which is common. It could be a parasite, which is common, or it could be this state of small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. And that's when bacteria from the colon has been floating up into the small intestines and housing themselves there. So that's a process of pushing that bacteria down, killing it off, and also rebuilding up the good and bad bacteria to optimize leaky gut and create more balance in the body. So SIBO is quite common. SIBO is one of the number one reasons someone has IBD or IBS. Yes, so a stool test is very informative of what somebody needs, but also, as many of you know, I appreciate the wheat zoomer test. That's a straightforward test, helping us understand whether or not we need to avoid wheat and gluten, driving the breakdown of the garden hose of the small intestines. And when we remove that, that can optimize the bacteria in the colon, but also help strengthen the gut lining to increase our nutrient gaps that our body needs to overall function, to drive balance, to drive daily functions of hormone balance, of mitochondria, ATP energy production, to drive good sleep, to drive good brain chemicals, and more. So I'm a little behind on my papers here, so let me catch up quickly. So leaky gut, I have used the metaphor that the small intestines is a garden hose, but I think of that garden hose lining like a coffee filter. And on top of this coffee filter in our small intestines should be a mucus layer just protecting that coffee filter from being touched by any threats, any toxins, any pesticides, herbicides, pathogens, and so forth. But often when we're stressed or have a lot of antibiotic use or consuming foods that we're sensitive to, that mucus layer breaks down and food particles, the outside world, can get right to the inside world, to that coffee filter lining, the epithelial lining, and damage those tight junctions, opening up that coffee filter, creating holes. So leaky gut occurs when the gut lining, the gateway to the bloodstream, is weakened, where holes can form, where the mucus layer is non-existent. A weakened gut barrier allows toxins and microbial invaders to pass into the bloodstreams. And this is what drives the immune system and also drives inflammation and also drives cortisol up. So a client might tell me, oh, Kelly, I'm not feeling stressed at all. But their cortisol is completely out of whack because the gut is imbalanced. There's leaky gut presence overall. So I'm trying to keep this really high level to make it easier to understand, but also give you a little bit of science to feel really educated. Symptoms of leaky gut, if you haven't done a wheat zoomer or a stool test, could be joint pain or brain fog. It can be fatigue. So that coffee filter, those cells are turning over every 5 days. So just changing your just changing your diet can quickly change your gut health. And if the gut lining is damaged, you can feel really exhausted because the body's trying to keep up and repair so quickly and so often. Leaky gut symptoms can be you feel like you don't tolerate a lot of foods or have a lot of food allergies. I had a client recently and she had 5 different food allergies. And I don't think the solution is continue to avoid certain foods that's creating hives. I think the solution is to identify what's going on in the colon with the gut bacteria to better repair and prevent these food allergies and heal the body overall long term. So with that specific client, is like a stool test seems like a requirement for us to create a treatment plan. Leaky gut symptoms can be nutritional deficiencies. So when you get your physical, hopefully you're getting your lipids, you're getting your thyroid, you're getting vitamin D, but also ask for magnesium, red blood cell magnesium. Always also ask for B12 and B6. If these levels are low, it can be a number of things. There can be too much stress in your life. Those can drive them down, but it also can be an indication of how well your body's absorbing these nutrients. So nutritional deficiencies, and especially here, anemia. I have a lot of clients who are iron deficient or ferritin low. Their ferritin's really low. And there's often a relationship of gluten sensitivity as well, but overall leaky gut syndrome where the body's just not able to absorb it as well. If you do have low iron or ferritin, it's important to combine iron supplements or iron-rich foods like animal proteins with vitamin C-rich foods like citrus and broccoli and peppers. Always food first before the supplements. But when it comes to gut health in modern life, supplements are very much required for the healing journey. And after someone gets on a protocol to heal the gut, those supplements will taper off and we can continue to move forward with a diverse diet, a whole food diet, to a degree, not perfection. I think of 80-20, but really identifying what are your insults and do your best to ongoingly avoid those. Leaky gut syndrome can have symptoms of strong food cravings, but as well as anxiety and depression. As I mentioned, the brain's connected to the gut from the vagus nerve. And in the gut, we produce these brain chemicals traveling up to the vagus nerve to the brain and sensing how we feel. Skin irritation, our skin is a reflection of our gut. As I mentioned before, also is allergies, and with skin, acne and rashes. Overall, there's a strong evidence in association with autoimmune disease and leaky gut. And it's something, my type 1 diabetes isn't going away. And I therefore, long term, anticipate utilizing things to support my gut health with including things like, including things like a probiotic and being articulate with what I'm eating to support my gut lining, like collagen and bone broth, and being aware of what my body feels good and tolerates. So drivers of leaky gut, poor diet, gluten sensitivity, of course, celiac, if that's a condition you might have, chronic stress, that's probably the biggest insult in modern life. People might say, oh, the food system in America, it's the worst. I actually think, of course, our food system can improve, but I think it's the pressure on our shoulders that's driving health in America. And that's the number one thing that needs support before we even insult the food industry. But really managing stress. And I have a lot of clients, I ask, what do you do to manage your stress? And some people say, I don't know. I don't know. And I don't know, they feel so much overwhelmed. They're not really sure how to take steps to unwind, to calm down. And I can speak for myself personally. I have to get outside. That is one of my biggest values, that I must get outside most days, and spend time walking outside without headphones on to just be in nature. And when I can, I like to step all the way up to Jeffrey Mansion, just about a 15-minute walk from my house, to really just submerge myself in nature. And nature is just so healing. So maybe that can be inspiring for you. But I also know I love reading. I love reading. I love yoga. I love walking. And I really need people. I really need my friends to support my stress levels. So take a moment and think about what helps you process your stress. And can you dip yourself into that a little bit more to overall support your gut, support your health, support your hormones, support your life? Unprocessed trauma. I am someone with post-traumatic stress disorder, and the trauma it is a huge player in my gut health, let alone my type 1 diabetes. And it's just making sure I'm aware if I'm feeling triggered to support that trauma. And, someone's trauma can be as dramatic as being mugged to something as small as having a really strict parent where you felt like you were always having to be on, to please, to support, to show up, where you couldn't always be yourself as a child. So trauma is a huge player in gut health. So as is stress, as is gluten sensitivity, as is poor diet, processed food, sugar. Frequent consumption of alcohol. Alcohol is very sterilizing, just like I'll take an alcohol swab and clean my arm before I put on my devices. Consuming wine, liquor, beer, it sterilizes gut bacteria. It sterilizes that Bacteroides firmicutes that support our metabolism. So just be very aware when you have alcohol to consume it with food, and to consume it to a degree that supports your overall goals. Sleep deprivation, the more sleep deprived we are, the more less diverse the gut bacteria is, research shows. So if you're consistently only getting 6-7 hours of sleep or less, 7 is pretty decent, but less than that, your diversity of your gut bacteria is going to be low, because there's so much circulating cortisol and driving inflammation in the body. Sleep is the secret sauce to health. Over-exercising can hurt the gut. Over-exercising drives adrenaline and cortisol, and that influences our internal system. Gut infections, antibiotics, PPIs, and toxins. So as many of you know, I'm very passionate about seasonally cleansing the body with a 14-day program. I do have 10-day programs, but utilizing an external product to help detox the liver, the kidneys, the gallbladder. It also supports the toxins housed in our gut. And this routine procedure that I offer as a group is very healthy for overall gut health. So alluding to that, toxins, we want to really minimize the input. I was talking to a client this week, a new client, and I was like, the fragrances in our household, are they essential oils, or are they more, Bath and Body Work candles? Are they the plugins? And synthetic scents are very toxic to the body. So with any scents in our environment, even perfumes, I really urge for us to find forums that are using essential oils. At Sephora, they do have some perfumes that are made with cleaner ingredients, and those are the only perfumes I've moved to use. So take an analysis, take a review of in your household, where do toxins exist? I was walking with a neighbor last night, and we are walking through the alleys in my neighborhood, and I could just smell the people doing laundry because they're still using dryer sheets. Dryer sheets are some of the most toxic things we can have in our lives. So I wish I could put them out of business. Not to be mean, but I really care about the end product of our health, our children's health, our grandchildren's health. And being aware of toxins is one step to support our overall hormonal function, our gut bacteria, overall health, our drivers of cancer and more. So be aware of toxins in your environment, be aware of cleaning products, body products, opting for organic as much as you can when it comes to proteins, reaching for that pasture raised, grass fed, wild fish as much as you can as your dollar can stretch and so forth. And you overall want to unclog the dam. You want to unclog the dam with these real food cleanses seasonally to overall support the liver, gallbladder, and kidneys so you can open up your filters and overall optimize your health. Advocating your needs, being aware, making those 1% better choices. So a leaky gut protocol, just like I mentioned in my TEDx talk, which was recent, our fork is our most powerful tool. We can feel empowered with the small choices we make, let that be what we buy from the grocery store and make for our meals, to what we order at a restaurant with friends, to what we bring to a social gathering. I go to, as I mentioned, I need to be social to support my happiness as an extrovert. And I'm not going to isolate myself or eat just what's provided. I'm going to be generous and always bring something to help supply the party, but more so supply my goals, support my goals, provide something that I know I can eat and something I like to eat. But your fork is your most powerful tool. And think about, the drivers of leaky gut that I mentioned. Is sleep something that you need to support? Is it maybe toxins, opting for more organic when able? Is it being more aware of when you eat? Are you consistently having small, frequent meals, or can you drive more 3 main meals that are delicious and really have enough fuel, have enough calories, have enough protein, have enough color and fiber to spread them apart? Could it be just being a little more present when you eat, slow down? I think sometimes I love rushing. I love like being timely. I love being prompt, but I'm like, man, if I bust my butt to get there right now, I'll get there 2 minutes sooner than if I just take a deep breath and slow down. So kind of step back, zoom out if you feel like you're one of those people that often rush, and do your best to slow down at meals and have a sense of gratitude so you can absorb those nutrients better. And be aware of what you're choosing that's processed. I have a pantry full of on the go foods, from bars to, I love the olive packets. I like the artichoke packets. Of course, I'm rattling off things that are whole real food, but I do have processed things. I love Heavenly Hunk gluten-free cookies. I love Q chocolate. I love a variety of trail mixes by Purely Elizabeth. Those are processed things, but I'm always choosing better packaged foods than other options. And I'm doing that by looking at the ingredient list to notice what chemicals or preservatives or gums are present and trying to make better choices. And it's not 100%. And I don't want you to be 100% either, because stress doesn't drive health in a good way. So just being aware of that. Overall, try to manage what you monitor. There's so much value in pen and paper, what you're eating, to one, help you grasp portions, but overall how food makes you feel. So in today's recording, I'm going to give you a copy to this presentation, and you can click right here, and this form will pop up, and you can print as many of those off as you want to really get in touch, to really ground yourself, to really identify how your food is making you feel. Are you eating enough? Are you consistently hungry? Are you overeating? Are certain things driving your blood sugar up? Are certain things driving constipation or your bowels in one direction or the other, and so forth? So manage what you want to monitor as you're trying to improve your gut health, and write things down. That is step one. Step two, of course, you can do various tests. I have my wheat zoomer here. You see the price is $4.99. Use code T1D to get that on sale. And then over here is my stool test. The GI Effects is a stool test. And then right here, I have a thyroid panel. More and more, I'm seeing women who think their hormones are out of balance or they're having a lot of constipation, but it's in fact their thyroid. It's in fact their thyroid. So thyroid health, a full panel beyond the TSH is so important to understand. Is this a player in weight loss resistance? Is this a player in your digestive tendencies? Is this a player in what you suspect as perimenopause? So I just put that, it's a little bit of a tangent in today's topic, but it does relate to. So write down what you're eating to be in tune with how you feel. There's tests you can take. And then the basics, major in the majors with health. The majoring in the majors of health is forecasting your meals lightly. It's not creating a meal plan and being religious to it and having no impromptu or spontaneity, but it's thinking, okay, this week I'm going to make these 4 dinners. I'm going to have enough for leftovers. And then from those 4 dinners that I want to make, I'm thinking, do I have those ingredients in my house and what do I need to grocery shop for? That's a process and it needs to be efficient. I use an app. It's my absolute favorite app. It's Any List. It costs $10 a year. Any List, like anybody, ANYLIST, Any List. And in it, I capture my grocery list. I capture my grocery list for Costco, Aldi, Trader Joe's, and Whole Foods. Those are my go-to places. And at each of those grocery stores, I'm shopping for different things. So if I see my house has no food, I just open up that Any List and I think about, oh, okay, I know I need more protein. I know I need these fruits. I know I need more berries. I know I need more nuts. I know I need, more gluten-free waffles for the kids for breakfast, X, Y, and Z from specific stores. But I also love, I can Google gluten-free quick paleo dinner and I'll come up with 4 recipes that look pretty good. And I can upload those recipes from a website. It'll upload and sync to my Any List. And then I can sync it to a calendar to have it mapped out for Monday night. From there, I can sync it to my grocery list. It'll populate into my grocery list. So I don't want to spend too much time on this specific app, but Any List is just very efficient, time saving, and really helps me change up what we eat from week to week because I get in food ruts and cook the same exact things. But this little app has created such efficiency on eating healthy. But when we plan our food, we can better enjoy our food. We can better diversify our food and we can be more prepared to make healthy food an obvious choice. So forecasting our meals to some shape or form can go a long way for our gut health. As well, be where your feet are. Take those deep breaths, support your cortisol level, make sure you're sleeping enough, make sure you're processing stress the best you can. The calmer we are when we sit with our food, the more nutrients we can absorb. Um, Exercise, specifically NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Make sure you're moving throughout the day to break that insulin resistance, but also just support the gravity, that migrating motor complex, that movement of food down the pipe by walking after meals. That can support blood sugar balance, it can support digestion, it can support the production of bile, and so much more. But exercise is just as important as what we eat and when we eat. Self-care aware, this is pretty much identifying how you can support your stress levels. And it's different for everyone. Overall, lifting heavy things, make sure you are supporting your muscle mass. Supporting your muscle mass will support your bone health, which will support your overall health and your energy levels. And then cleanse, I talk about it over and over again, cleansing in some shape or form. And that might be doing my real food cleanse. My next one is coming up September 16th. But also making sure you're sweating on a daily basis or a weekly basis. Daily might be too much, but a weekly basis. You can do things like taking Epsom salt baths to support your detox pathways. You could do things like dry skin brushing on your skin once a week, not daily. You can over exfoliate your skin, but once a week using a dry skin brush before your shower can go a long way. Support your detox pathways by supporting drinking enough water, eating enough fiber, and very basic things overall, and choosing that 1% better of when you can stretch the dollar further on organic. One reason I belong to Costco is they have the most organic options at the best price compared to any grocery store. And that's where I'm getting all of my berries. And, berries come winter, they're not going to be that great. They might not last that long. They might mold quicker. Go for the organic frozen. Frozen fruit and vegetables is potentially healthier than even the fresh, but always a great solid recommendation. And overall, I love what Dr. Will Cole, he's a doctor I follow, has to say here. Sometimes wellness looks like like not adding in yet another healing practice, but staying consistent with the simple things. This is majoring in the major. It's practicing gratitude. It's going for slow walks. It's taking deep breaths. It's a good cleansing cry. It's a joy of missing out versus fear of missing out. Reach for that JOMO, not the FOMO. Food that loves you back. So eat food you love. It's something I say all the time. Eat food you love, but pay attention. Does it love you back? That's where the pen and paper and journaling what you eat, how it makes you feel. Showing yourself some grace and taking in nature with all your senses, your visual senses, feeling the ground on your feet, and overall appreciating it. So wellness tools that I have that you might be aware of is, of course, private coaching, my seasonal cleanse, a variety of functional tests. I do offer continuous glucose monitors for those of you who are not wearing one that might not have type 1 or type 2 diabetes. And then last but not least, I have a beta group. So I'm speaking to you today in my membership, not publicly, but I have started this beta group. It's called Trim and Tame. And Trim and Tame is highlighting the emphasis of weight loss goals with strategic practices. So it's committing to 30 minutes of walking a day, it's committing to reaching for 30 grams of protein per meal, and it's committing to having 3 meals, reducing snacking, but also utilizing a tool in the inverse of modern life where there's distractions of processed foods and the desire to eat everywhere, but using a tool like a newer product called CaloCurb. So CaloCurb is a vitamin, it's an herb from New Zealand that the government patented, and it is helping stimulate GLP-1 like receptors. So it's working in a way like the known Ozempic and Victoza and Wegovy, but it's a natural herb that has much fewer of the side effects, but can support the sensation of satiety. But I mentioned this one to share with my membership what I have going on. You can join this Facebook private group for free. And it is utilizing things, an herb like CaloCurb. If you don't want to use the CaloCurb, if you just want to pay attention to what's going on in the community, you're also welcomed. So just let me know if you'd like to join. I was just going to say something else, but now my mind blanked. But I welcome you because I have a handful of clients on CaloCurb, but it's helping support the food noise. There's so much food noise that's distracting us with our food choices, making us feel a little stressed. But it helps quiet the food noise to make better choices. But this is what I was going to say. Utilizing something like Ozempic, utilizing something like CaloCurb, you must dial in your gut health. You must dial in your gut health. If you ignore your gut health and just trying to count calories and restrict portions, even with products that help with that, you need to support the gut bacteria to utilize these products to the fullest. And a lot of people might be very against Ozempic. A lot of people might be against CaloCurb. But as a dietitian, I've stepped back and we need tools. We need tools in our modern life because the statistics are moving in the wrong direction. And there's too much stress, there's too many toxins, and there's too many processed foods that taste delicious that aren't working towards our end of the day health goals. And I think these are good products to help get momentum because weight loss is not easy. There's a number of things that we need to ensure to support weight loss efforts like nutrient gaps, gut health, blood sugar management, inflammation. But there's tools like CaloCurb or even Ozempic to help us get that movement. So that might be shocking for you guys to hear about this program. Maybe you feel enlightened, maybe you feel excited, maybe you feel inspired. But I want to let you know I have this very small beta group that I'm only offering to members and close clients so I can handhold you to get the most experience out of this journey to better help you get those results you need and deserve. So I'm going to stop the recording. Or stop the share. Maybe I'll go into Q&A. I'll record that. And then from here, I'll shut everything down. And sorry, I thought that talk would go a lot slower. It added a lot of detail. Hopefully it helped you feel more educated. But what do you ladies think? What questions do you have?
I don't know, I took a lot of notes.
Good, good. I think that's a good thing. CaloCurb too. I know I've shared it with you, Margie, but I have probably 10 clients on it right now. And I thought it's such a unique product and a newer product that is an alternative holistic measure to Ozempic that I thought I would just make a community. And within that community, I just want to pop in and I want to remind everyone it's not a magic pill. It's not a magic pill that's going to support weight loss alone, but it's going to be a supporter. Again, mainly what I find is quieting food noise and really helping people stop when they're full. And with type 1 diabetes, we lack hormones of satiety. And there's a lot of leptin resistance when people have metabolic higher blood sugars and so forth. So it's just something out there. And Kathy, as a dietitian, have you heard of this CaloCurb?
No, no, that's what I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
So that's news
it's
to me, and it's good to learn like all these alternatives. There's just so much coming at us that,
yeah,
you don't know if it's like just to grab money or if it's actually going to help. And that's where like filtering that, so if somebody
yeah,
asks, we can give them the best information.
absolutely. And I think of like, do you remember back in the day? I was like, you know what this product seems like? And of course, I've done the research on it, but it seems like those
AIDS.
green tea extract
Oh,
pills, you know?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And it's not because it's working in the biological pathway of a GLP-1 antagonist to
Okay.
support the hunger and satiety. It's also supporting things like heart health. So if clients are on blood pressure medication, there's a precaution there because it can make that blood pressure medication work better. So if it's something you want to utilize, certainly cross-reference with your doctor as you go on it.
Mm-hmm.
On the clients I have on it, that I have in this group already, specifically one was like, I'm on anxiety medication, I'm on blood pressure, I'm on a statin. And she's like, I just went to my doctor. The doctor looked it up. She was really impressed by it. And she said, go at it. So do your due diligence to make sure you're a good candidate. But it's a very pure product. It's a very pure product.
Okay, good to know.
It's
is
a
this
hot.
the thing that you take 3 times, like 3 at breakfast, 3 at lunch, 3 at dinner?
So CaloCurb, you ramp up slowly. So you do your first 3 days is just one pill at dinner, 30 minutes before dinner. And then after those 3 days, you'll have two before dinner.
And where did you order it from?
It would
Because
be
I don't
from,
know if I did it or not
yeah.
when I put in an order on the
Um,
vitamins.
give me one